Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Things Politics. Let's get right to it. Jeffrey Epstein. There has been a lot of sensationalism around or evolving around the Epstein files. However, this channel, All Things Politics 26, and others suspect that there is a deeper dive into what's really behind or inside the Epstein files. There's no other reason to excuse or to Donald Trump or those who are attempting to have their names redacted from the record or the file. There's no other way to explain it. This is very deep what's going on. We allege, as other channels do, that there is something more than sexual debauchery taking place, human trafficking, epic parties involving around sexual acts that include very, very high level individuals. To help us along in order to shed more light or give clarity to this issue so that the people do not become distracted with what the media is putting out, and we regard that distraction as something to hide the real truth about what's really in the Epstein files, and how, if we dig deeper, we can get to the core issue of what's really behind everything that we see in front of us. We suspect that there are others who actually run this thing. Jeffrey Epstein, in our opinion, we allege that he was just a figure, but not the head of the snake. To give you guys greater clarity on this issue, we are going to use a clip courtesy of the Sabi Shop. And in this clip, this individual, the host of that channel, will help shed more light on this. As we go along, we'll comment.
Do a lot of work in Africa, and he refers to Africa as fertile ground for experimentation.
It seems that with the so-called last release of Epstein files, that the rabbit hole and connection to all sorts of nefarious activities keep on expanding. And no exception to this is Epstein's connection to the continent of Africa. In this video, we're going to talk about the latest Epstein connection to the continent, how it is connected to Zionism, systems of control, and even occultic practices.
Okay, again, we allege that is bigger than what we are being exposed to or the information being filtered out to us. And the reason why we think it's filtered the way it is, it's didactic the way it is, it's because there's a greater insidiousness, there's a greater evil behind Jeffrey Epstein. Again, not just sexual debauchery. We think that there is also, yes, this mechanism that he sponsored, that he was the face of, dealing with or having to deal with controlling not just minors or people who can be sexually exploited. We're talking about whole countries. We're talking about people, communities. Also, there is the implication, or the alleged implication, of occult-like occurrences happening, practices taking place. Again, this is, we think, one of the deeper dives into what's really inside the Epstein files.
I want to make it clear here that I will be presenting the accounts, interpretations, and conclusions that other people have already published online, some of which are extremely shocking, but we have no way to fully verify. If you don't know me, my name is TJ, I'm Nigerian and British mixed, and on this channel, we talk about African geopolitics.
There's a particular reference Epstein makes to Africa, and he says, I do a lot of work in Africa, and he refers to Africa as fertile ground for experimentation.
Africa has been fertile ground for exploitation for centuries, for a very long time. Again, this should come as nothing new to anyone who understands geopolitics and the rape and consumption of the continent Africa and its people. King Leopold was one of those who exploited Africa on an extreme level, very extreme level. In fact, we think that he was the precedent for other European westernized countries to come in and do the same thing.
And so it turns out that Epstein was a major funder of this weird artificial intelligence lab being created in Ethiopia that's tied to the scientist who's overtly transhumanist that he funded extensively, named Benjamin Goertzel. Goertzel is, for example, head of humanity.
Remember that name, people. Benjamin Goertzel. I have an inkling that name, we're going to hear about that name. That name's going to come up.
Humanity Plus, formerly the World Transhumanist Association, which is an entity that Epstein funded in addition to funding Goertzel's own work. And Goertzel is also the chief scientist at Hanson Robotics, which has produced these human-like robots, the best well-known probably being Sophia, the robot that was, for example, granted citizenship by Mohammed bin Salman at a time when one of his close advisors was Jeffrey Epstein. Again, very odd activity there. So as far as what was going on in Ethiopia at the time that Epstein was investing in this AI lab and backing Goertzel, Goertzel was teaming up with this blockchain company called Cardano that's pretty well known in the cryptocurrency space. And they were specifically seeking to offer digital ID. Well, it's already happened. They gave a digital ID essentially to 5 million Ethiopian school children with the intention of expanding that. And the whole intention of this is to harvest data from the.
Hold up. Digital ID. So let's think back. There was a lot of hoopla about not digital recognition per se, but digital identification, a lot referred to it as the mark of the beast. And this identification, the purpose of it was to, I think, either install chips, digital chips in people, and these chips would be connected to some type of data system or system where they can be not only identified, but also go from place to place. Their travels would be known. They would also use it as a means to buy things, purchase things. There are so many applications for the so-called digital ID. Again, if we think back and recall all of the not necessarily excitement, but all of the chatter around or involving digital ID, it was referred to, or is still probably referred to, as the mark of the beast. And this is how the mark of the beast was what allowed those in power or in control to know who they had control of as opposed to who they did it. That's one aspect or one way to look at it.
Children. They explicitly say that. So, and even in other documents, Goertzel essentially says that this data is being used to feed, the AI that powers robots like Sophia at Hanson Robotics and stuff. So what exactly is going on here? And what are these transhumanists up to? And why are they so overtly interested in children? And what was Jeffrey Epstein, who was interested in children in numerous disturbing ways, interested in doing? I think this is something that needs to be scrutinized.
Very deep dive. In fact, we're going to use another phrase that everyone uses nowadays, and this is going down the rabbit hole. Again, Jeffrey Epstein is just, he's the lackey. He's the scapegoat. He's the one whose face is on everything. However, we allege it's deeper than Jeffrey Epstein. He was just a poster boy, the figurehead, so to speak. There are countries involved in this whole process. And again, the further or the more the people ask for and demand to know what the Epstein files consist of, what's in them, minus the deductions, the more we'll find out. We think that there's a grander picture here. And Jeffrey Epstein was just a figurehead, just, the fall guy.
because it seems like Epstein was a child predator in multiple senses.
So Whitney Webb's warning here is straightforward. If an experimental digital ID and data tracking system is being rolled out to more than 5 million school children.
Okay, read that headline right there. Cardano developer IOHK strikes partnership with Ethiopian government. Deep dive. So what is, or how is the Ethiopian government involved in this? There's something going on. Let's get back to it.
In Ethiopia, the people that are connected to that must be of the highest reputation and character. That should be a minimum. Regardless of whatever you think about who Jeffrey Epstein is, certain facts are absolutely not disputed. He was a convicted trafficker with deep connections across finance, technology, government, and intelligence-aligned environments. As more documents have been released, his profile becomes more troubling, not less. That alone should exclude him and anyone closely linked to him from proximity to children or sensitive data systems.
That's basically saying, or he's saying basically, connect the dots. Connect the dots, people. There's something going on. And again, we allege that the more we dig into the Epstein files, the greater our understanding will become about what is really happening. And we think that it's beyond the sexual depravity. It's beyond that. That's just the surface stuff. This is what they want us to know. We think that there is a lot more sinister activity going on that involves some of the most powerful people in the world and governments, especially governments.
Africa, over the years, has repeatedly been used as a testing ground, from medical trials to economic models and now digital surveillance. That historical context matters. When Africa is described as a fertile ground for experimentation, especially involving children and permanent data capture, security is not paranoia here, it is responsibility.
So take into account what he just said in terms of Africa being ground zero for experimentation on so many levels. Before there was Africa, well, I think that in a lot of respects, Africa has always been the main experiment. But the experiment, if you think about it, it's taking place all over the world. It's taking place in Australia. It's taking place in South America. It's taking place in Brazil. It's taking place and may still be taking place here in the United States. It's all an experiment, we think, we allege, to keep this machine running and also to keep those in power holding very, very tight to it. We think it's all connected, again, to things way more sinister than sex trafficking and pedophiles, things of that nature.
This is where ideology and systems intersect. Digital ID with AI align with broader visions of a new global order. You may or may not have heard of Pax Judaica, a concept I've
All right, again, pay attention. Pay attention to the prompts. Pax Judaica, okay, Dujaica, excuse me. Dujaica. Pay attention.
Explored in previous videos. It refers to a perceived elite world order tied to the Greater Israel Project, which links to banking power, the Israeli state, the US government, Mossad, the expulsion of Palestinians from Gaza and the West Bank. This
we feel honored to be able to bring this type of information, educational information, we might add, to the people, because the people, they're being fed garbage. The people are being fed garbage. This situation is way deeper than what a lot of us suspect. And because we only suspect it the way we do, is because we're being fed it. We're being told this is how you look at the Epstein files. Don't look at it any other way. The possibilities of all this, you know, they're great. You can go on and on to the break it down, talking about possibilities, but the probability that this is greater than what they're telling us is from 0 to 1.
Concept aims to surveil the world, control the world using AI, digital IDs, and a banking structure. And these systems repeatedly intersect, particularly when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. Several African countries have also recently signed health data agreements with the United States.
Okay, again, people want to know why Trump, what's going on with Trump, and he's keeping everybody off kilter, off balance, because the real issues that are going on, not just in the White House, but around all halls of power around the world, it's greater than this. He has to play this part. He has to play this role. And while he do this, and while he keeps everyone distracted, the real business of running the world, running people, owning people, experimenting on people is happening right before our eyes. Secretary of State Marco Rubio with Kenyan President William Ruto at the signing of a health framework of cooperation. So that means then also, see, you can't just point the finger at and say, well, those in power are the culprit. They're the reason. They are the corrupt. There's no one else. Yes, there are others. William Ruto, it's alleged here, you know, not just here, but in other on other channels, other exposés, that there is something going on in Kenya. There's something going on in Kenya. There is something going on in Kenya that we are not aware of. We're being distracted.
States under the America First Global Health Strategy. While we cannot say this is
again, why did the U.S. leave the WHO, the World Health Organization? And this was just recent. Why would they do that? Something else going on, people. Let's wake up.
Basically the same system, or these things are factually coordinated. We do not see elite level deal making behind closed doors. What we can assess is where the outcomes and objectives seem to align. What is notable here is that Epstein now appears connected, directly or indirectly, to every one of these spheres.
There you go.
Digital ID experimentation in Ethiopia aligns closely with goals attributed to Pax Judaica specifically, including centralized surveillance, population management, and total control.
There you go.
And when allegations around Epstein include not just trafficking, but ritualistic and cultic beliefs, concern deepens further.
Now, this is where, again, it's deeper than what they would like to lead us to believe. Way deeper. The sex thing, the depravity in evolving or surrounding these sex issues with these higher ups is just one aspect of it. And that's the aspect of it we think that those in charge, those in power, want us to focus on, and focus on only. We suspect, or it is being alleged by others, that it is a deeper dive than that. There's a lot of cult-like things going on, and these issues evolving around cult-like rituals involve some of the richest and most celebrated individuals, not just in the entertainment industry, but in all aspects or institutions in the world. I'll let him talk.
Especially when African children are anywhere near these systems. This concern is amplified by Epstein's proximity to political power beyond the West, including reported connections to Mohammed bin Salman, mentioned by Whitney Webb. He is the current leader of Saudi Arabia, a state which has been accused of operating outside international law, which includes the killing of a journalist at a foreign embassy. And this points to the defining issue with Epstein and others like him.
It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a part 2 to this process, or to this piece right here, because we think it's warranted. This is all things politics. We will do part 2 very shortly. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself and each other.